Yes, if anybody's wondering, has Hanok been locked up somewhere? All of his clothes have been taken away. The only thing that he has is, and not even a metal. Well, there's only plastic hangers so you won't hurt yourself.
That's right.
And maybe that's a box of Kleenex behind you. I don't know. So, which
I don't
prison are you
know.
in, Hanok?
I am in Winchester, Kentucky prison. No, I'm just teasing.
I know,
Um,
I know where that one is.
I'm with dear friends at Beit Menorah. Um, what's interesting is this is the very first congregation that I ever spoke in back in August 2013.
Wow.
When I first started all this crazy pants travel and speaking,
Yeah.
this was the very first place. Now, when I say this, I mean this congregation. It wasn't
Yeah.
in this building at the time.
Or in that
Uh,
room.
and actually, what was really cool was because, we of the Church of Latter-day Pharisees don't travel on Shabbat. The building that they were at, they actually borrowed someone's trailer. I had a camping. I mean, I kind of felt like a rock star. I mean, no groupies, of course.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't do any of that stuff. Um, but yeah, so it's kind of like full circle 10 years later.
Yeah.
To
And
be back there.
you've moved up from the camper to the broom closet, it looks like.
Yeah. I'm going into solitary later.
And the thing is, I know exactly where you are, so
I
it
know you
even
do.
it even makes the joke even better. So,
Yes.
well, Hanok, to start out
Yes.
our Israel update, I know how much you are into conspiracy theories. It's really, kind of a part of your life that you spend hours and hours a day on, keeping track of each one of them. And so I looked at the news. I'm you, as I just told you, I just got in, like night before last. I got way too much to do.
Yeah.
But I did look at the Israel news just barely, and I saw that the president of Israel had a mild case of COVID, which means that Biden can now nap through well, I think he did actually do a nap yesterday. I heard something about, but so, I mean, that's probably a conspiracy that they gave him COVID or something. You give
Well,
us insight into that.
okay. The thing that's interesting is I saw a news piece from our sources, our being Israeli,
Yeah.
that they were testing everyone related to the Israel delegation,
Okay.
meaning the Israeli cameraman that was filming, whatever it was, and they were insisting that they wear masks, of course, but typical of the Biden White House, they didn't provide masks. We Israelis don't walk around with masks. Vassal state.
Okay, wait a minute. We froze up at and
Sorry.
I'll blank that one out, but I'll edit that. You
Okay.
Israelis don't walk around with masks.
Yeah, we Israelis don't walk around with masks. So when you require instantly saying like, "Hey, you guys all have to put on masks," it's like, okay, where do we get a mask? It's not like they're going into Walgreens or CVS or whatever, and it's just ridiculous. But
Yeah.
the resentment that I feel for America treating us like a vassal state.
Oh yeah.
I mean, um, when an American is killed, like George Floyd, okay, and the inner cities across the United States are up in flames,
Yeah.
businesses are looted, people are attacked. It's horrific. Are we in Israel supposed to get up and criticize America and its government for their lawlessness? But it's okay for Biden to have this tremendous resentment, Biden and his cronies and the rest of the Obama administration, to
Yeah.
have their resentment about what they perceive happening in Israeli democracy, and they are clueless. And the thing that's astounding to me is even when Donald Trump was president and had all these Jewish advisors, including his son-in-law,
Yeah.
he was clueless to not understanding that there's no correlation between Jewish Americans and support of the state of Israel. He could not conceive it. In the same way that Biden and his cronies can't figure out how, they perceive that Israel's democracy is about to fall. And I don't know how they can be so naive and stupid not to understand. Really.
Yeah, well, I'm with you on the same page there. The thing is, when it comes to them wearing a mask, I don't remember anything else I've seen coming out of Washington lately in which people were required to wear masks. So
No,
this can be taken as a total slap in the face of Israel. We
well,
have the delegation of the squad plus whatever,
yeah.
would not, I can't, they refuse to do something regarding Israel. Anybody that believes in any way, shape, or form that the quote unquote Biden administration or the puppets thereof have not already totally turned their back on Israel. If anybody believes they have any kind of honor toward Israel, there's no hope for that brain.
Tied in with that, there are two declared candidates for the Democratic nomination in 2024. The second candidate is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah.
Now, one of the thrills that I had as a child was shaking Bobby Kennedy's hand
Oh,
who was a kid. So this guy is talking about how COVID was bioengineered. And again, I'm sticking just where it affects Israel.
okay.
COVID is bioengineered to attack Caucasians and blacks. But the ones who are exempt, he didn't use the word exempt, but the ones who it affects the least are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese. Now, how a virus could be engineered to avoid the Chinese, but no one else in Asia. Notice, no one else in Asia.
Mm,
Koreans are still susceptible, but not Chinese. Anyway, but Ashkenazi Jews.
okay.
Without giving any evidence, without stating even anecdotally, I know a guy of Ashkenazi Jewish descent who was exposed to COVID and didn't get it. So these idiotic theories are pervasive. In the meantime, America is still begging Iran to go to the prom with them.
Yeah.
We seemingly are on a world that on the edge of the world. That doesn't mean that the earth is flat, but on the edge of the world where everyone has gone crazy nuts, cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. It's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah. And I was in Colorado this past weekend, got to speak to a number of people that I'd never met before. And of course, bringing up Israel is I will in pretty much any conversation. It's like, well, I wanted to go, but it's so dangerous. That whole thing again, and you have to go through and it's the average mentality is that you guys are like walking down the street and it looks like a bunch of people doing hopscotch, trying to avoid the rockets they're flying at every moment. So many untruths. And we're working on the Israel tour, Connect Israel tour for this coming year. And it's so wonderful when you get there and a group of people that have been told by their family, their friends, their acquaintances, their enemies, everyone in their life, you're going to Israel, wow, I cannot believe. I mean, it's right between brave and stupid. Uh, and they get there and they're like, wow, this is peaceful. That I didn't expect this.
It, it,
Because they don't
okay.
know.
Now, I was last in America in February.
Yeah.
I spoke throughout January. In February, my grandson was born. And by the way, a couple of people have mentioned you have one picture posted of your grandson and he's facing the other way.
Yeah.
Uh, my daughter has asked
Yeah.
not to post any pictures of him
Yeah.
on social media and not even to mention his name. So while I'm traveling around, I'll show you all the pictures because he's an amazing kid. He's Hanoch 3.0. So we've
Uh-oh.
gone ahead. But I have to
Yeah.
tell you, I
He's
was in New
Mr.
York.
Bruiser is what he is.
He's a big boy. I
Yeah.
mean, barely 5 months, and he's like 17 pounds.
Yeah.
Really, I personally, and you don't want to be one of those Sabas that, me, little Sabi, who goes and gives your daughter advice on how to mess up her child as you did to her. So, you don't want to do that. But I did gently suggest like cutting back slightly on the anabolic steroids because the
Yeah.
kid is like, he's really anyway.
Well,
Okay.
I was going to ask you, by the way, instead of going to the gym, what do you do? Like, push-ups with the baby or something?
Exactly. And I have to tell you, over the next 6 or 7 years, it's going to be tremendous progressive resistance.
Yeah.
So I was in New York as late as February, but there's something about New York in the summer that brings out the element of the city. There are more mentally ill homeless people. This is a post-COVID,
Yeah.
due to COVID, people who were on all kinds of meds and in all kinds of programs got off that. They never got back. I have never felt more anxious walking the streets of Manhattan
Wow.
than I did in the last week. Now, anti-Semitism in America is at a fever pitch,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about general street violence. I went into a CVS to pick up Benefiber. Okay, you reach a certain age in life, you need Ben. First of all, prices. What has been going on in America to spend $17.99 on, and now that's $17.99. That's
Yeah.
not shekels, baby.
Yeah.
Okay. While I'm
So that
standing
does
there,
that does help the suitcase because Mr. Hanok usually comes to the States and buys things to take back. And so this is going to be, I get better gas mileage when I come to pick you up now.
okay, absolutely. There could be a play on words about the gas mileage, but we're not going to discuss that at this time. Anyway, while I was standing there, a guy without a shirt, clearly homeless and deranged, comes in, grabs a whole bunch of food, like I'm talking chips,
Yeah.
and runs out the door. I mean, right there.
Wow.
So anyway, so you've got that going on, but this perception of Israel. Now, what's really interesting is as I've shifted over the last few years to focus my presentations totally, it's interesting. Someone made a comment who had heard me a few months ago, and asked what this presentation was about and said, "Oh my God, Hanoch, this is like an extension of your guiding. I feel like I'm still on the bus with you."
Hmm.
And that's exactly what I was going for.
Good.
To provide information, to, listen, the humor will still always be there. There's still, I've honed sarcasm to a fine point, so that will always be there. But it's all informative, and it all kind of connects the dots. I can't tell you that I'm not upset any longer when people give these crazy pants answers to why they don't go to Israel. They don't go to Israel because they don't want to go to Israel. Now,
Yeah.
again, I think I mentioned it last week. Jessica put up a post talking about Israel and going to Israel, and it's great to have someone on fire. And people who describe themselves as Torah teachers admit, I've never had any desire to go to Israel. And you know what? As we say, Gamzu Tova, this is also for the good. I'm actually thrilled.
Yeah.
I'm actually thrilled because what it shows is that the Torah that people claim to be following, the Torah that people claim to be studying, they're obviously not. Because if you can ignore Israel, you ain't been studying the Torah.
That is a true statement. I'll leave them nameless. A mutual friend of ours in Israel said to me one day, we were talking about the Christian Zionists that come, and they said to me, we appreciate them. We appreciate the donations and their support and whatever else they do, but we understand that there's another group of people that their outward actions are the same as far as support and all of those kind of things and just basic friendship. They said, but for yourself, and they were really directing this to me. They said, we know in the end who will truly stand with us.
Exactly.
Because for them, it's kind of like, well, somebody told them that this was the right thing to do. But they said for people like yourself, you found your love for Israel and the Jewish people in the Torah. And therefore, when things get worse and worse and worse, you will continue to stand because you did not find this love because somebody told you to.
That is, you've got that really nice microphone in front of you, so I'm not suggesting you lift it up and you drop it.
Yeah,
that is the key. If you claim to be a Torah follower and don't have Israel and the Jewish people as part of your heart, I don't know, maybe you were studying the Quran.
Yeah. Now,
maybe you were, I don't know what you were studying.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the Torah.
Yeah. So let me go to something. So I had conversations with the various people this past weekend that are on different pages of different things, and some of them coming from a secular background or whatever. But there is still this sentiment that, well, if the current administration just leaves and the old sheriff is reelected, then all of a sudden America is going to stand with Israel again.
Okay.
Am I crazy in saying, well, that's probably not going to happen?
What's really funny is both you and I, if there's an unpopular opinion that doesn't go along with the other wildebeests, it's likely something that we felt. I first of all, in the 4 years of Donald Trump, okay, looking at it from an American, you know what? I'm not going to go into the American perspective. From the Israeli perspective, Trump did a number of things in support of Israel.
Yeah.
He did link it with trying to gain Jewish American votes,
Correct.
which is ridiculous. Number one. Number two, he did call for the creation of a Palestinian state.
Mhm.
That was an integral part of his plan, with an underground tunnel linkage of Gaza to Judea and Samaria. I mean, everyone ignores that. And there were even people who said, well, it's just a bluff. It's not a bluff. That was the American policy. Trump followed the American belief in what's called the two-state solution. Now, I urge everybody to come and hear me speak. I've got 12 speaking gigs over 8 states and over the next 5 weeks. Come and hear me, because I go into it in great detail.
I want to go back to something that you've been alluding to, that I mean, given the opportunity to have either administration, I think it's obvious where I would go. But at the same time, I'm not closing my eyes to some problematic things.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to go into all of those, because that's not the purpose of our program. Our purpose of our program is Israel centered. Your statement that he was going after American Jewish votes, I think, is very significant. It was not about Israel.
He said it repeatedly.
Yeah.
Look at all I've done for Israel. Why do they vote Democratic?
And there's another subject, why
if he supported Israel, Israel as America's best ally, then say it.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
How an American Jew, having anybody with the word Jew in their title anywhere, how they can vote for the agendas that are there is beyond my comprehension. But with that being said, so let's think about this thing of, there was support. It was on the table. Two-state solution, which is no solution at all. Well, it is, but not for the right side. A tunnel that would connect Gaza and Judea, Samaria. How have tunnels been working out for you guys over the last years, Hanok?
That's the whole irony.
Yeah.
And you know what? And again, I just want to remind our listeners, we may have some brand new listeners, because someone is born of a Jewish mother in the United States of America, does not mean they have any connection whatsoever to the state of Israel.
Yeah, because they have synagogue written on the front of their building.
The vast majority of Jewish Americans don't even belong to a synagogue.
Yeah, and those that do go there for the shrimp dinner.
I'll give you a quick little anecdote. So my grandson, because his mother, my daughter Kira, whose name I can mention on social media, is an Israeli. He is an Israeli.
Yeah.
So they're planning a trip to Israel to visit little Sabi. We'll see if it works out with schedules and everything. Anyway, so he got his Israeli passport, and I made a picture of it, and I was showing it to friends. And the question came up, is he an Israeli because he's a born Jew and there's the law of return? I'm like, no. It doesn't work that way. Jews throughout the world, based on the Chok HaShvut, the law of return, can become Israeli citizens, but they have to do it proactively. And you know what? If they wait for the day where swastikas are
Yeah.
all over their community and synagogues are burning, it's going to be too late to get out.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about that. So, back to the tunnel thing. Let's
Yeah.
just say that this would go through. So you have tunnels that are going from, I believe, from Egypt into Gaza, from various places. But this border, we have a friendly border with Egypt. Yeah, that's it's kind of like letting having a friendly border with the local prison. We're just going to put a tunnel here just in case they want to come over for breakfast.
Well, what's interesting, when you stop an Israeli and ask about the peace agreement with Egypt,
Yeah.
everyone, everyone across the political spectrum refers to it as a cold peace.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, it is not a border that we are largely concerned with, at least at this time, but it is not a friendly. Now, Israelis still go to Egypt.
Yeah.
Egyptians do not come to Israel.
Yeah.
They hate us. Same thing with Jordan. We have a peace agreement with Jordan. It is a very cold peace.
Yeah, I've known Israelis that have gone to Egypt for Passover, which is just really kind of beyond my comprehension of that one. But so what this means, if this whole thing was to go through, instead of you guys having rockets coming out of Gaza, you would have them coming out of Jenin, out of
Well,
Shechem.
that is a much larger issue. And here it is. We signed the Oslo Accords in 1993. What became the terrorist organization, the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization, which was started in 1964. And by the way, so that's an interesting thing. The Palestine Liberation Organization, 1964. So this is 3 years before the June 1967 war.
Mm-hmm.
All of Judea and Samaria are under the control of the Jordanians. All of Gaza is under control of the Egyptians, but there's an organization called the Palestine Liberation Organization that is attacking Jews worldwide.
Yeah.
Including the Munich massacre, the Olympics in Munich in 1972. So they're responsible for security throughout all the areas that we surrendered to them in Yehudan Shomron, Judea and Samaria. And Jenin has been a hotbed of terrorism.
Oh, yeah.
Since day one. But they're responsible for it, but they're not doing anything. So it forces us to go in. The problem is Israel has no plans whatsoever to retake the city of Jenin.
No. You're flying all over the country. I just did my, I drive to Atlanta to go to Dallas as my flight is coming in, landing. I'm waving at the one that I'm supposed to be on, going to Durango as it's leaving. So that put me 7.5 hours at Dallas, Fort Worth, which is not that nice of an airport. It's not bad, but I mean, really, and when bottled water is $4, it's like, really? And so I had a little time to think as I'm going from there to Durango, back, had to drive down to Albuquerque to go to Dallas Love, to go to Atlanta to drive home. And I'm thinking back, Hanok, to early days, many, many moons ago, in my first flights as a teenager, where you could take someone else. I could literally take Hanok Young's boarding pass to the gate, having not gone through security, having not gone through any interviews, having not gone through any gates. I could have taken your boarding pass and gotten on the plane. Yeah, it was a different world. And I'm thinking about, as I'm walking around, the very thing of the PLO, that every single thing that we go through in an airport today has its roots in Islam, the PLO,
Islamic terrorism. Absolutely.
Islamic terrorism. Every single thing. From taking my computer out to taking my shoes off to having to walk through that thing, which I'm looking up in Atlanta and they're letting people go through the metal detector. And I'm like, yes, I don't have to go through the x-ray machine. And when I walk, I put my luggage, my carry-on on the back on the rack. It's going through. And as I'm walking up, they put the little thing in front of it, and I got to go through the other one. Every single thing that you go through in an airport,
yeah,
you can put in the lap of Islamic terrorism.
There's nothing to argue about that.
I'm just so glad it's a peaceful religion, Hanok. If it wasn't, we'd be in real trouble.
Just remember that the term Islam means submission.
Yeah.
And people forget that. And this is the time that people need, again, we say this ad nauseum. This is the time where people need to focus on their personal commitments, their familial commitments, their congregational commitments. This is the sorting out period. Is you is or is you ain't.
Yeah, totally and completely. Yeah, it's not a coincidence, by the way, that you got to take your shoes off at the airport, which is exactly what you do when you walk into a mosque.
Well, get TSA pre-check. You don't have to take off your shoes.
Yeah, I don't fly enough anymore to do that. So I just endure to the end, and hopefully I get back home. Well, hey, have a blessed time there in Beit Menorah. Let me code this real well to where you can get the gist of it. Okay. Tell the 5 ladies from Beit Menorah that are going with us on the Israel tour. Give them my regards. Make sure you remind them that it's the 5 ladies from Beit Menorah.
Well, as they refer to themselves now as the Israel gals.
Yeah.
I like it. I love it.
All right. Go for a walk with Jessica. Enjoy.
See ya. Bye-bye.